Okay. Starting. Okay. Hey, okay, we should be back online now, I guess. Alright, so hopefully you guys are seeing this. This is start number 2 of the stream. I apologize. This is a Corona 16 megabyte NAND. We're just starting out. Note that keyframe settings it's saying something about. Okay. Okay, so we've applied some flux to the NAND header. We've talked about the R2C6 and R2C7 requirements or lack thereof since they're present. So the next step is going to be to actually tin the pads so that we can get the NAND wires installed here. So I think we're going to go to just camera left and Mr. Muffin, no, this is not a stream for that. There are several other videos, like 5 or 6. Go to weekendmodder.com and then hit Trinity on the left side, and you'll see like 5 different videos linked where I did Trinity installs. Feel free to watch any of those. What is up, Dean Palmer? Thanks for joining, man. So this is a Corona 16 megabyte NAND that we're working on. Right now we just applied the flux paste after fiberglass scratching off the top coating of the surface. So we're going to go ahead and get this all installed. And yeah, HV3 absolutely is what we're going to install in here. The default timing files on HV3 work really well. So they actually come pre-programmed. They were designed for Coronas in the first place. So definitely can use HV3 on Corona, and you don't even have to program the chip. So these are all NAND headers. This one that I just did, that's actually the 5-volt power. This next one over here is actually going to be the ground. Ground wire often takes heat longer, so you have to actually apply some heat to it for some time. And then this is E and F, and then the other actual NAND wires are over here. These are the blue and green NAND wires. So again, just to show you from within JRunner, you go to the images, NandX Slim, NandX Corona install, and you get this image which shows us the color-coded diagram of what I just laid out. So what this doesn't show is power, ground, E, and F, but it does have the blue and green for the NAND wires hooked up. So we need to hook up the NAND wire so that we can read the current NAND off of it. So we're going to continue on with that process. So we've got our spots pre-tinned. I've got my my NAND wires here, and I like to start with the black wire. And then brown, which would be easier if I wasn't colorblind. Little piece of lint on there. Brown, and then red. And then orange. Hail from Belgium. Awesome, dude. That's really cool. Belgium? Sonic Wolf's Dutch. Oh, I think you've been in a stream before. I recognize your name. Alright, yellow. And then remember we said the blue and the greens were the ones far off to the right. It's green on the bottom. Actually, I'm gonna do the blue one first so I can lean them the same direction out of the way. So we'll go blue. And then green. Alright. So now that we've got our NAND wire soldered in, this should, Wales, South Australia. I guess I should have anticipated at this time of day that I would get some international watchers, so that's awesome. What's up, Mod Chop? How's it going, man? Fusion said a silly question. What was his question? I didn't see it. Why does it need a NAND? Yeah, okay. You're right, that is a silly question. It always has a NAND. It's an Xbox. Alright, so let's see. Adjust the cam here while we turn this up. We'll get this one out of the way too. And actually I think we'll just go with camera left. So what I'm hooking up now is just standby power, right? So power only. I'm not actually going to turn the console on. And then grab my NandX, plug that into the USB, and then plug that into the header here. And scoot it all back. Pop back into JRunner. So we can close our little reference image because we installed that. First thing you do is you can click this little question mark and it will query your flash config. And if you've done a good job installing and soldering, you get a valid flash config, which 43000 is a valid flash config for Corona. So that's totally appropriate, and we can just go ahead and hit read NAND. We get our little input name pop up, which I don't even bother to fill in, and it's off to the races reading the NAND. So some questions while we're waiting for this lovely NAND to read. What up, Papa Oscar? Cosmos asks, how much is this in service? And Death Wizard correctly answers $75. www.sendin.weekendmodder.com if you want more details on that. Ryan Mackey asks, Weekend Modder, do you reapply the thermal paste when you take the heat sinks off? Yes. If I don't remove the heat sinks during an install, I don't touch the thermal paste. But if at any point during the install I remove the heat sinks, I do replace the thermal paste. Brady Christensen, what are the pins called you use to write the timing files to the HV3? It is just standard little, here I'll pop over to adjust the cam here. It's just standard little, what they're called pin header. You buy this for like Arduino projects. You can use it to populate the pin headers on Raspberry Pis. But you can just pick it up on eBay. I bought a big package of them, and then you just break them into, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. You just break them into the little bits that you need, and you shove the long end into the CR2 NandX programmer, and then it leaves you with a little pin exposure that you can jam into those chips and work out. Ninja Gamer asks, where do you get the stuff for an RGH Slim? So you can hit me up, store.weekendmodder.com, and there's a whole bunch of others. Most of your question, not trying to be like that, but he takes well care of your consoles and most of your Ryan, he always does. I don't know what Dean Palmer is talking about. Are we still talking about thermal paste? You guys are weird. Fun times. Papa Oscar says he had an issue with an RGH install. So let's go back to the camera while we're watching. Alright, so our first NAND read completed. We've got a NAND dump 1.bin here now. Right? So it's going to do a 2 and then compare. Oh, cool, Machop. Thanks, man. Papa Oscar again. I recently had an issue with an RGH after writing the XeBuild. You couldn't read or write to the NAND. Yeah, check your wiring and stuff. There is a procedure, especially for like FATs, where the NAND can become kind of like soft locked, and you can trigger a reset of it. But in most people's cases, that is really not necessary. Usually, you've just pulled out the pin somewhere along the line. You know, it got jostled around while you were messing with it. So double check your wiring. That's definitely the right thing to do. So, Ninja Gamer, what's he asking for a link for? Where do you get? You can't type in store.weekendmodder.com. Ninja Gamer, somebody has to type that out for you. Store, STORA .weekendmodder.com. Brady, check out the couple of videos past in my channel here. There's one titled Weekend Modder JRunner Downloads. That JRunner Downloads has all of the timing files in it. Just watch that video. It spells it out. So go check that out and hit that download. Papa Oscar, Google search it for the NAND reset process for FATs. I think there's a pretty good one, tutorial over at 7sins, and I think I've seen stuff on the Team Executor forums. So yeah, there's a procedure, but basically you take a strip of wire or a piece of solder wick and place it on either side. You put it on either side of the NAND chip to like short it basically, so that it shorts out and then goes into a reset. So we're going to continue with the install now. So we got our second NAND read here. You can see NAND dump 2, and then it automatically does the comparison, and we got the very happy NANDs are the same. So we are good to go there. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is create ECC and then write ECC. So this writes the XeLL code stuff to the first 50 blocks of the NAND. You could wait and do this later. I like to just not have to plug and unplug my NandX a ton of times, so I go ahead and write the ECC now, and then we'll get our chip installed, and it'll already have the ECC file on there, which is what will cause XeLL to boot, and we'll be all happy there. So let's get some cameras going on here. What do you guys think about the split screen view? Does that help? Do you like that? Is it better than full blown on one camera? I don't know, looking for some feedback. I've never had multiple camera angles in the past, so I can make that one a little bigger. Get this one down here. I don't know. So Ace V3 comes in the package. You can buy these again off my store, store.weekendmodder.com. You can get them off of eBay. You can buy them off of AliExpress. eBay and AliExpress, the cheap priced ones are definitely going to be coming from China, so you're going to wait 3 to 5 weeks for one of those. If you buy them off my store, they are shipped from the US, and then you're also supporting me a little bit, which is awesome if you feel inclined to do that. But totally your call, no pressure. So what I like to do first here is unwind and open up the chip package. So I'll just do like that. And what you'll notice, and what you should be able to see here, is that there's a whole lot of exposed area on the end of the wire there, and that's way more than what's needed. So on one end, we just trim that off so that it's still got some exposed wire. Let's see if we can make camera focus. There you go. But it's like way short. It's just tiny, tiny little bit of exposed wire. So alright, so we're going to do that across one end. You don't have to do both ends, because the end that's soldered to the chip is actually a much larger pad. The end that is soldered to the motherboard is the only end we're really worried about having the small amount of wiring. So now, as far as chip placement goes, maybe this one should be towards the front. Border, move to top. There we go. So on these Corona 16 megabyte NANDs, what I like to do is place the chip just below the NAND header, off to the left just a tiny little, oh, you guys can't see that one at all. There you go. So right about there. All right, and then next up, let's tin the solder pad. So I think this is going to be best with camera left here. So all I'm doing is just applying solder to the pads on the chip. All right. Now to walk through the install, we kind of called out what pads were what a little bit before, but we'll walk through those again here. So the one I'm doing now first in the corner is the 5-volt pad. So I'm just kind of melting the pad and then inserting the wire in there, and that's going to go to the spot on the chip labeled 5-volt. Next up, we'll do ground. So what I do here to route the wire a little bit is I kind of take the end and apply a little bit of a twist to it. So it's kind of got a kink in the wire so that I can hold it more easily here. So we're going to go right in like that. This is a little more difficult when I'm trying to stay out of the angle of the camera. And that one's going to go to the G&D ground pad. There we go. So there's power and ground. Next up are E and F. What's up, Super 360? Did you change your name? Weren't you Xbox modder, Super 360? Why do I ground it there? Because that's a ground point and it's convenient? Why would I not ground it there? So top point is E, and then the next one under that is the F point. So we'll do that one last here. Alright, so there's that one's going into F. Alright, and this is the part where we have talked about in the other live stream before it crashed, but the C2, or excuse me, R2C, what is it? R2C6 and R2C7, the resistors are in place here. They're actually 0 ohm resistors, but these are already present. So that tells me that, number one, I don't need to bridge these. If the 0 ohm resistors were missing, I would need to bridge them, but they are in place. And number two, the fact that they're present tells me I'm probably not going to need a postfix adapter. That's kind of anecdotal, something that I've just observed. So it is still worth verifying, which we will do. So go ahead and turn the motherboard here. And now I'm using, everything else that I've used was on the shorter wires. Now I'm using the 2 longer wires that come in the pack. I'm gonna do point D first. So we'll solder the long end that we didn't trim to the D pad, and then we'll go ahead and take the motherboard out of the housing. So just a little tip on doing that. What I like to do is kind of pull forward on the front of the case while pushing on the fan a little bit. Not aggressively, because if you tilt that or mess with it, it is connected to the XC GPU underneath there. But I'm just gently kind of using it as my lift point. Alright. So now the D wire gets routed through here. Yeah, you changed it to your Team X360 username. Okay, cool. And then now, I think left is still going to be the better camera here. We're going to do the D point. Now the D point is really tiny. Right off of the larger hole here, there's a row of points that you can see. And they kind of come at 1, 2, 3, 4 points. And these may be like pre-tinned like these are. They look like they have a little bit of solder on them. Or they may be totally flat matte like the pins on the top were, in which case you would want to hit them with a fiberglass scratch pin. There's already a little bit of solder on mine, so what I can do is just add a tiny little bit of flux paste, and it goes right on that top one. And then we will go ahead and pre-tin it a little bit more. So I'm just holding my iron on it, getting a little bit of solder on my iron. And here's the wire routed from over on the side. And there we go. Nice little attached wire to that top pad. Again, that is really tiny and quite fragile. So much to the chagrin of many folks, what we usually like to do is back up off from the point a little bit, and out here put a little bit of hot glue to hold the wire in case anybody ever tugged on it. It would have an anchor rather than ripping off the little pad here. Ryan, yes, I've done CR4 installs before. I don't change the tips on my iron nearly as often as I should, probably every 6 months or something, and I use it heavy. Dean Palmer, you're right with your earlier comment. The Ace V3 is actually originally designed just for the Corona. Ryan Mackey also asked, is the CR3 chip better than the Ace V3? That one, I will give you a conclusive no. Now, if you're saying CR4 and you mistyped, CR4 is an awesome chip, but it is way more expensive if you can even find one. So that's kind of why I don't use CR4s. So anyway, next step, and I'm like really quite confident that this console is not going to require a postfix adapter, but I do want to show you guys how to validate that, because there are some 16 megabyte NAND consoles which could require a postfix adapter. So you'll need an X-clamp remover tool. You can use a screwdriver, but these things are like $3 or $4 on my website, and highly recommended. But up to you if you want one of these or not. Just if you're using some other tool, be real careful you don't accidentally hit and scrape up some traces on the motherboard there. So go ahead and remove the X-clamp, and then holding the fan still on there, I'm going to flip it back over, and we'll give you guys a good look here. So what we're looking for is right off the top of the motherboard, near the XC GPU here, there are these diagonal row of vias. Let's see if this thing will focus if I get it a little bit. Yes, I have SD tool in stock. Brady, thanks. You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed the tutorials. There we go. There's some focus. So you can see this little row of vias that's all diagonal like that. That's actually the same as, or it's, you know, the top points that correspond to that diagonal row of points on the bottom side of the motherboard where we normally solder post to. So what we're looking for are these little lines that run from the corner of the XC GPU up to all of these little vias. And the fact that we do see those lines here tells me that those traces have not been removed, and therefore this console will not require a postfix adapter. If, unlike this, this area was blank, it did not have all these little lines in it, then we would need a postfix adapter. So we've just confirmed that we do not need any postfix adapter on this console. So as I said before, since we removed the heatsink, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup and change out the thermal paste, which is a pretty boring thing, but it's going to take a minute. So I'll see if I can answer some questions while I'm doing that. Do I have SD tool in stock? I already said yes. If you buy a couple Ace V3s and 2 Vipers. So if you bought it like right now, I would probably ship it as soon as the live stream is over, and so it would leave today. If you buy it later, good chance. My mail runs about 11 a.m. So if the mail has already run for the day, I'll still pack it up and ship it, but it wouldn't leave until tomorrow. And then regular mail, you're at like 2 to 5 days. But there is a priority mail shipping upgrade option on my site, and that gets you down to basically about 2 days shipping time. So hopefully you can figure it out from that feedback. So clean off all this old thermal paste. Nice. And we'll use some fresh thermal paste. And I buy it in like super huge bulk. This is Thermal Take TG5. You just spread a real thin layer all the way across the top of the XC GPU. Nice new thermal paste will keep this console running cool for a long time. The Viper is really only set up for use on Trinities or potentially on Coronas if you were to use the adapter board, but it is not for FATs. Yes, $4 for the upgrade to priority mail, because you would already be paying like $2 or $3 for regular first class, so it adds a couple of bucks to go to priority mail. So there's the X-clamp back in place after we verified we don't need a postfix. Here's my hot glue is warmed up now. I'm going to put my little dab of glue to support the wire in case it gets ganked on. Just showing again. I'm not even remotely touching the point where I've soldered. It's back a bit. The whole point is so that if anybody tugs on the wire, that it's protected against just getting yanked out. Yes, this is a send-in. Mod Shop, you retracted your message. Okay, I missed it. Oh, maybe he's going to say... Mod Shop would be the perfect guy to ask if there's going to be a way to adapt the console or the Viper to FATs. Or maybe he's working on a FAT edition. I don't know. He is the mastermind on that one. Alright, so we've got our D point installed. Next up, and lastly, we need our C point. So our C point is going to be soldered to the chip. So the long part of the wire with a lot exposed that we didn't trim, right to the chip. And then what I do is I route that to the next hole over that is adjacent to the one we put the D wire through. So that pokes through here, and reach under from beneath and pull it through snugly. So it should kind of go directly over there. Flip the console back over, and we use the same C point like we do on Trinity motherboard. So it's one over, one up, one over. So it's that point here. Let's see if I can get you guys a little better view. So it's that point right here. So if you go one over, one up, one over, right there. You've got an adapter board made up for Coronas. You haven't had time to do much testing. You're also looking into an adapter board for FATs. Awesome. That would be cool. Reaper. Dual Nands are all the same. Any dual Nand will work as long as you wire it manually. You know, that's probably true, but I certainly don't have the expertise to provide like a tutorial on how to do that. So maybe that's an opportunity for somebody else to step up and create a video like that. Alright, so just a little bit of flux paste on the point there. And we'll just pre-tin the spot a bit. Get a little bit of solder on my iron here. And tack that right into place. Hard to do and let the camera watch. There we go. Alright. So So there is our C wire, and then as far as securing it and that sort of thing, I do same thing that I did for the D wire, which is a little scoosh of hot glue back away from the point, just to protect it in case it gets tugged on, so that it wouldn't rip off the pad. Direct wiring is of course always an option. Yeah, the adapter boards for sure. That would definitely be cool. All right, so we have completely installed now our Ace V3 and our Corona 16 megabyte NAND console. The cool thing is that the Ace comes pre-programmed already with the Corona timing file on it. So there is no need for us to do any timing file programming to the chip because it's already done. So we'll slide the console back over. I'm going to plug in HDMI, power, and actually I'm going to plug in Ethernet cable here. That's because what I expect to happen is when we boot this thing, it should boot into XeLL and give us our CPU key, and I'll pull that in over the IP address so that I don't have to type it out. Tom Blake. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to use my infrared remote, power on the console. We get a glitch light, so that's a good sign initially. And we should see how many cycles it takes here. Don't be too concerned if it takes a few. So that took 2 cycles to boot to XeLL the first time. But if yours takes a lot more than that, don't be like really bummed out about it, because the characteristics of how fast it boots XeLL does not necessarily reflect how fast it will boot the final XeBuild image. So there we go. You can see that I've got my CPU key, DVD key, and then right there it's got that 192.168.1.132. So what I'm going to do is come over into JRunner and do the 132, and then hit the Get CPU Key button. It sucks in the CPU key across the network, and now we've got all the ingredients that we need to create the XeBuild image, which is the updflash.bin. That's the actual glitch 2 modded image, and we'll write that to the console. So we'll say we'll power it off, and then what I like to do anytime I'm messing with the NAND and stuff is just unplug, replug, just to kind of power cycle it and have it all fresh. Plug in our NandX to our still soldered in NAND wires, and then pop back over to JRunner, and all I'm going to do is click Write NAND. And now it's writing my updflash.bin to the console. FIFA Fame 14. No, I don't do this for a living. I have a regular day job, but I do earn a fairly good side income from it. I definitely get paid to do it. Ryan Mackey, your Corona with CR3 instant boots in XeLL. Cool. Brady Christensen, but if you get stealth servers, they can't really see you're on, and they won't do anything if you won't care. What? Is using an RGH to mod games illegal? Sweet will be nice, or is it HV3? I'm not sure. I'm not following here exactly. You're pretty worried about using an RGH if you could be taken to court. So let me be real clear, is that using an RGH to mod games online is a violation of the Microsoft Terms of Service. It is not, however, a crime. Period. You were going to use JRunner V2? You mean a JR Programmer V2? Yes. TWN, Xbox One, RGH, or JTAG, if and when. Dean, no. If you had, and I don't mean this to sound insulting, but anybody who actually understands what's happening for JTAG and RGH to take place would know that that's not going to be applicable to the redesigned x86 based Xbox One. So bottom line, It's just not going to happen. There would possibly be some other mod, but it's not going to be JTAG and RGH. It may even require soldering, but it's not going to be JTAG and RGH. End of the day. All right, so we just completed writing our updflash.bin to the console. So we are actually modded as, fully good to go here. So I'm just going to go ahead and unplug my NandX. Again, I like to do the power cycle, so unplug, replug. And then I'm going to remove my Ethernet cable because I don't want to go online because obviously I don't have any stealth or anything set up on this thing. And it is now a modded console. I use my remote, turn the console on. And we can count the glitch cycles by the pulses here on the ACV3 chip. And that was a first pulse instant boot. So that was an insta-boot here. And it's going to boot up into a regular stock-looking Xbox dashboard. Nothing special about this because we haven't preloaded any software. Obviously, the hard drive's not in or anything right now. So what we can do is plug in my USB that I have a copy of XeX menu and stuff on. So we'll just plug that right into the console. And then if we sync a controller, actually, I'll sync that too. So there's my controller synced up. We can bump over to the Games tab and launch XeX menu. There's TWM. And there's my USB 0 containing all my stuff. I'm running XeX menu, so I could go right into like Aurora Dash. So I've hit the Aurora folder, go down to aurora.xex, and I am now running Aurora Dashboard off of my USB. So console is now technically modded. Really everything from here that I do is cleanup work. So let's see. Imagine a no solder RGH chip just snaps on. That would be cool. Yeah, I really think that would be cool. I don't think it's likely or going to happen. Can you RGH an Xbox E 2016 with an ACV3? No. If your Xbox E is 2016, then it's a Winchester motherboard and not moddable at all, Foxmead. Sorry. Ryan Dixon, where could I buy a NAND flasher? I'm out of stock at the moment, but normally, store.weekendmodder.com, we have NandX's. And actually, kind of a cool little bit for anybody who's watched this far into the video. I just worked out a deal with a supplier to produce a Weekend Modder edition of the NandX. So I am going to have about 40 special priced Weekend Modder edition NandX's in about a week or 10 days or so. I just made payment on the order very recently, so it's gonna take a little while. Reaper says, actually it could be RGH. RGH is only a form of a timing attack, and timing attacks have been used on CPUs other than the 360s. Okay. I'll suppose that potentially there's an opportunity for a timing attack, and it sounds like you have a better understanding than the average Joe there. But riddle me this, Batman. If you're Microsoft and you have Xbox 360 generation that you've been battling against SMC hacks and timing attacks, wouldn't you really harden your system, your next generation system, against that style of attack? I would think so. So the likelihood of that being the particular method, it seems to me super low. Mod Shop, yes, no problem. I will be happy to share that info with you. Ryan Dixon, do I ship to the UK? Yes, very recently I added international shipping options to my website. So right now I can do the UK, Finland, Norway, Germany. There's like 5 or 6 countries that I added to the website internationally where I was able to get pretty cheap USPS USPS first class international mail and still have it be pretty reasonable. Brady asks, how do I get these deals, and is it likely for a small RGH maker like yourself to get one? I consider myself a small RGH maker. I probably do 200 or 300 consoles a year. I don't think that that's so super big time. Send-ins another couple of hundred, I guess. So I might do 300 to 400 consoles a year. I don't think that that's super a lot. So what I did, obviously, just now, just to be back to the install, is I removed the NAND wires because we're flashed, we're good to go. I was just cleaning up with a alcohol-soaked cotton pad the flux residue, so that's all cleaned up. And I want to take the time to show you guys the step of loading the software and how I do this, so I'm going to reinstall the hard drive real fast. So step one is reinstall the hard drive caddy and insert the little power plug and the SATA and plug the hard drive itself right in, and then we'll boot the console back up. Alright. So, again, infrared remote. Turn on the console. So there's 1, 2, 3. Oh, this one's going. This is the longest boot yet. 3 cycles. Still really, I mean, really killer. So, good luck, Brady. That's all I can say. Is yeah. Anyway, best free stealth server. I have no idea. Maybe some other people in the comments can chime in. All right, so we've got the Xbox up and running here. Oh, I'm gonna plug in my USB. So that's how I do it. Once my USB is read in, my TWM profile. Marius Ivanov, dude, a method for Winchester motherboard? No. There is not a method for Winchester that's been validated or posted publicly. There's a couple of people claiming that there's a method out there, but until I see a video of somebody real-time doing one that I can reproduce, that I can do myself, which I'm happy to try, then yeah, I'm going to continue to say how it is, which is Winchesters are not moddable. Alright, so I'm signed into the TWM profile, which really doesn't matter. That's just how I do things here. I go to the storage options. I go to my memory unit, which is preloaded with XeX menu, and I simply copy it and paste it onto the hard drive. Brad Richardson asks, what's the ideal Xbox console to mod? So my most basic answer to that is the one that you have, right? The ideal console to mod is the one you have. But yeah, please don't advertise RGH. Yeah, thank you, Super 360. I appreciate you. You already posted your chat or your Skype name, so deal with it that way. Take it out of my chat, please. So we just copied XeX menu onto the hard drive. So now if we B our way out of this menu back to the main dash, and we go to the Games tab, what we should see is actually 2 copies of XeX menu. One that it's recognizing off of my USB stick, and another that it's recognizing from the copy on the hard drive. Doesn't matter which one you launch, but launch one of those, and then I'll use that to copy and paste the rest of everything else. So I right bumpered to go over to my USB, and I'll grab Aurora, copy, and paste it onto the hard drive. And depending on the speed of the hard drive and stuff, this can take a second, and it kind of pauses in the beginning like you saw it there, so don't be nervous. That's pretty normal with Xbox hard drives. You copy over dash launch, So I'm just doing copy and paste, and do freestyle, copy and paste. So everybody, so they've already got XEX menu, right? We've got freestyle dash, we've got dash launch, and Aurora. So we'll go into the dash launch that default.xex, and then we'll go into the paths, default, hard drive, and we can pick whatever we want here. I'm going to set it to Aurora. So we go to the aurora.xex. So by default, it will boot into Aurora Dash. We'll right bumper over to the save menu, press X over the hard drive. In the lower left there, you can see it says setting saves to hard drive launch.ini. I'm going to press B. Anyone got the direct link for XEX menu and JRunner? So if you look 3 or 4 videos back, the Weekend Modder JRunner edition that's like 300 megabytes with all sorts of extras in it has extra stuff. So can you RGH with an Executor NandX USB update cable? No, it's for updating the NandX. It's not a NAND reading device. So yeah, we're running Freestyle Dash. So I'm going to hit the center guide and turn this thing off and do one more boot just to demonstrate to you guys. So it's turning off, fan stopped, power still plugged in. You can still see the red light on the chip here. I'll bring in my, I'll unplug the USB where we loaded everything, and we'll give this thing one last boot. So there's one cycle, 2 cycles, 3 cycles, 3 cycles this time. All right, cool. And what we should see is that after it boots up here, it should go into Aurora dashboard directly because of what we've preloaded and set up. And there you go, right in Dash Launch. So we just booted directly into Aurora Dash. Just fire up the controller just to show you guys. I'm going to press the back button to launch system, go into the file manager here. If I wanted to, I could easily go into Freestyle instead, just launch that default.xex. So we've got Freestyle as well. People seem to be curious, so this console is for Benjamin K of Kansas. Benjamin K. I'll probably just link you this video as your proof anyway. So Benjamin K, your console is live stream modded 16 megabyte NAND Corona. And that's it. Posting your Skype. Brady, I dropped it and moved on. It's cool. Actually, I was trying to say if you posted your Skype and somebody was interested, y'all could talk on Skype, but we'll just leave it at that. We're good now. No worries. Nobody's mad. Slim Trinity, which is better, X360 run or X360 Ace all the way on a Trinity. The runs work well on Trinities. Don't get me wrong. If you've got one, use it. But if you're buying a chip specifically for that purpose, Ace all the way. Yep, odd shop for sure. I agree. So, yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. This has been a 16 megabyte NAND Corona video. Just to hit the highlights again, we're using an Ace chip with the default timing file. So the built-in Corona timing file. We did not change the timing at all. We did not have to bridge the R2C6 and R2C7 points because the resistors were still present. Let's see if I can get this thing to focus. Sorry, guys. Focus, focus, focus. 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 Alright, maybe if I just leave it there for a second. Hey, there it goes. So R2C6 and R2C7, you can see the little resistors. In some Corona 16 megabytes, this would be missing and we would need to bridge those. However, they were already present on this one, so we didn't need to bridge them, which also gave us an indication that we didn't need a postfix adapter. And we confirmed that by removing the heatsink and looking for the little traces going into there. You cannot see that with the heatsink on, but you totally could rewind to that section of the video. So big categories are, we're not using this set of pads at all because this is not a 4 gig. We use all the headers up here. We read the NAND with the NandX. We wrote the ECC file. We installed our chip. We booted. We got our CPU key. We plugged our CPU key into JRunner, which gave us our UPD flash.bin. We wrote that back to the console, and we are all good. You bought your first RGH from the Mod Shop. Mod Shop is awesome. I think he does really solid work, and I am proud to have some minor partnership where I resell some of his very cool stuff. So that's really great. I'm glad that he's here. Anyway, I guess we're going to call it with this. I wanted this to be the Corona 16 megabyte NAND video that people have asked for. Anyway, thank you very much, and y'all have a great rest of the day. Thanks for watching.